Minnesota Vikings quarterback Kirk Cousins is not the problem, except when he is. Like he is very consistently inconsistent, and the Vikings are in this weird half-pregnant phase where they have a ton of young players suggesting a build for the future after booting a lot of long-established veterans. But then Zimmer, Spielman, Cousins, all extended and are just here. So it's like they're trying to split the baby at this point. But if ownership decides Kirk is not the future and do want to go in another direction, can the Vikings this offseason trade Kirk Cousins with 2 years remaining on that deal? Gets a lot easier than you think. So the Niners is, of course, the prime option because it makes sense. Kyle Shanahan was a big advocate for Kirk Cousins in the 2012 draft when they took him in the 4th round, right after trading heaven and earth for RG3, as well as Shanahan in San Francisco wanted him in 2018 free agents before John Lynch was like, hey, we're going to trade for Jimmy Garoppolo in 2017 during the season and then pay him a lot of money. You in? Cool. But also, what about the other team that was really in on the Kirk Cousins derby in free agency in 2018? Yeah, what about that other team? What about the New York Football Jets? What about just adding fuel to the fire to the dumbest rivalry in sports history? What about that other team that was all in on paying Kirk more money? 3 years, $90 million fully guaranteed. Kirk Cousins turned down $6 million just so he didn't have to play for the Jets. Cool. Awesome, right? Now, in respect, the front office with the Jets is different. In 2018, the GM was Mike McCagnon, who we didn't know was in the last season of his time with the Jets. 2019, Joe Douglas, a.k.a. White Suge Knight, came in, took over. So there could be a change of heart at the top. But ownership is kind of up in the air too. Say ownership comes in and it's like, hey, we missed out on Kirk Cousins once. We're not going to do it again. Make it happen, Cap. And it's like all this drafting quarterbacks high in the draft, it hasn't quite worked out for us anyway. And I know that Trevor Lawrence is the bee's knees. He's going to be that dude. But what if we traded Trevor Lawrence for 3 number 1 picks? What if we did a reverse RG3? What if we did a draft version of the Herschel Walker deal and did that as well as got the rights to Kirk Cousins? Huh? It seems ludicrous, especially if and when the Jets end up with the number 1 overall pick. Trevor Lawrence does seem like a slam dunk, but also they're the Jets. So let's not completely rule this out. Plus, the fact that the GMs are different would explain why this current regime is pretty cool on Sam Darnold. Because remember, Darnold was a number 3 overall pick 2018, Mike McCagnon's final draft. He's not a Joe Douglas guy, even though I still like Sam Darnold. I loved him in the draft, even though obviously we didn't do a lot of homework on him since the Vikings were drafting at the back end of the first round and worked in the quarterback market essentially because they signed Kirk Cousins. But, I mean, if Darnold was part of the trade, would certainly be intrigued because I loved him at USC. He's only 23 years old. And he throws with anticipation. He's not afraid to take a shot, and he takes a lot of them with the Jets. He's just literally surrounded by garbage. Full-on garbage. It's almost like the municipal workers have a garbage strike in New York City. That's exactly what Sam Darnold is surrounded with. Plus, Adam Gase. Can we just fire Adam Gase, please? Please? Just rip the Band-Aid off? Sure. So, question would be, if Kirk Cousins was traded to the Jets or the Niners or any team for that matter, how would the contract work for the Viking salary cap if he's traded? So basically all future salaries would be taken on by the Jets or, again, whatever team trades for Kirk Cousins. So that'd be $21 million base salary in 2021 and $35 million base salary in 2022. That's fully guaranteed on the 3rd day of the new league year in 2021. So those cap hits come off the Vikings books. Otherwise, he would have counted $31 million and $45 million respectively those 2 years against the Vikings cap. But the Vikings do incur $20 million in dead cap costs, which is the remaining proration of his $30 million signing bonus if they traded Kirk Cousins, since that $30 million signing bonus has already been paid out, and the Vikings need to account for that cap hit somewhere. So they could take all $20 million dead against the cap in 2021, or they could split it up 10 and 10 over the final 2 years of the deal if they designate Kirk as a post-June 1st trade/cut designation. Either way, the Vikings would be freeing up either $11 or $21 million in cap space in 2021, which would be monstrous. It gives the Vikings a lot of flexible options, keeping Yannick Ngakoue, trimming the cap, make sure that they're able to be cap compliant with the cap potentially going down in 2021. Also, avoiding $45 million in cap hits in 2022. That might be kind of nice. That might be kind of nice. Also, Darnold, if he was part of the deal, he would be in the 4th year of his rookie contract, and the Vikings would only be on the hook for his $920,000 base salary, both paying it as well as in terms of the cap hit, because the Jets have already paid his $20 million signing bonus, and that's on their respective books. So, also, bringing in Darnold would not preclude the Vikings from either drafting a quarterback in the first round, even though, like we said, since the Vikings lack a second-round pick, I think that's rather unlikely at this point. So maybe the Vikings go a different direction round 1, but there's going to be a ton of great quarterbacks in this draft, day 1, day 2, and even in the day 3. So maybe the Vikings spend a third-round pick or one of their 75 fourth-round picks on their perceived quarterback. He comes in and competes with Sam Darnold. Maybe they sign a veteran like Marcus Mariota after the Raiders cut him, or Tyrod Taylor if the Chargers let him go. So it would make a lot of sense. Give Darnold a shot. I believe that he's like a rich man's version of Josh Rosen. He just hasn't gotten the time of day, as well as he's been in a horrible situation with the Jets. But put him in the right system. Put him with Gary Kubiak. Draft some offensive line help. And then you got Dalvin, you got Thielen, you got Jefferson, you got Irv Smith stepping up. All of a sudden, oh, look, Sam Darnold. He's not a bust, even though he's not a bust right now. He just is surrounded by absolute trash, and he gets the mono. So what can you do there? But even if Darnold isn't part of the deal, even if they just decide to cut Darnold, or the Jets are like, whatever. But if the Jets are in the market for Kirk Cousins, baby, we got Stu going. Let's do it. All right, so your thoughts. Trading Kirk Cousins to the Jets, let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support that work, pull some in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.